Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, I've got my hands on the Panasonic Lumix S series of prime lenses. I have the 24, the 35, the 50, and the 85mm. As a video shooter predominantly, I wanted to put together a video that would showcase what these are capable of and also how they vary from each other. So if that's for you and you find this video helpful, please leave a thumbs up, I appreciate that. Just a disclaimer ahead of time, if it says paid promotion somewhere, I actually reached out to Panasonic to see if they would send these out for the review. I didn't buy the entire range of them. I do, however, own a 50mm f1.8, which I love, which was kind of the incentive to see just what the rest of this system was like. So a massive thank you to Panasonic for being a part of this video. I appreciate it. Links to all this stuff will be in the description below. Here we go. The first test I wanted to put together is a really practical one, and that's just to showcase the differences in the field of view between each of these lenses. I'll have the camera positioned in exactly the same spot, about 3 meters or so back from Rhiannon, and the only thing that's going to change is the lens. The next test I wanted to put together was to see how much of an overlap there was between each of these lenses shooting full frame and then using the APSC-Crop. So for those who don't know, the Panasonic S5 does have a super 35mm crop anytime you're shooting 4K 50 or 60 frames per second. I found this APSC-Crop really helpful if I've got something like a 35mm on and I want to do some product B-roll. I can switch it into 4K 50 and then I'm good to go, and I've essentially got a 50mm lens. The 24mm becomes a 36, the 35mm becomes a 52.5, the 50mm becomes a 75mm, and the 85mm becomes a 127. The benefit of this whole APS-C crop, even though it can be sometimes looked at as a disadvantage, it means you can buy a 35mm, crop it into APS-C, and you get just over 50 mils, which is pretty much the same as just buying another lens. Up next, we're checking out the autofocus performance between each of these prime lenses. And we're going to see just how well they perform in a real world situation. So what we've done, I've set up Rhiannon in a particular spot. She's going to be walking slow towards the camera and then much faster towards the camera, both in face detection and in one area plus mode, both of which exceeded my expectations in terms of performance. Now, if you've ever shot with Panasonic, one of its Achilles heels is when you walk backwards from the camera. It can sometimes take a moment to catch up, but it worked extremely well with the S5 and these lenses. So if you've got this camera and you're gonna be planning on shooting in autofocus mode, one area mode and face detection will work. I think if you're gonna be doing a lot of talking headshots like this, you can use face detection without any problems. If you're gonna be doing a lot of fast action towards the camera, something like this, then you probably wanna use one area plus mode. Another one of the strengths when it comes to this series of lenses is the physical size and weight are basically identical, with the exception of the 85, which is slightly heavier. That said though, each of these balanced perfectly on my Ronin S gimbal. I had no problems shooting with each of these, and I'll show you some sample footage of that now. If you plan on buying one of these lenses for a gimbal, I would say either go for the 24 or the 35. And one of the reasons is the 24 becomes kind of like a 35 in APS-C-Crop mode, or the 35 becomes a 50. So you get a lot of flexibility with those two lenses, and they were far easier to frame the shots than the 50 and the 85. Right across from where I'm sitting right now is prime real estate for golden hour. I've showcased it many times in my videos, except the night we chose to do this, the golden hour wasn't that magical. So I cheated a little bit and added in a little bit of saturation. But other than that, I'm still shooting in the natural profile, and paired with these S series prime lenses, the results really speak for themselves. It's actually far darker than you see it in the video, and that's the beauty of having a really fast lens. Let's take a look. I'm actually doing a low light test here at Mordialloc Beach in Melbourne, Australia, and it's far darker than it may look on me right now. We've got a light right above me here, but this is the kind of low light performance you can get using these lenses at 4000 ISO, which is the dual native at the higher end of the ISO range, giving you really clean images at low light. So this camera paired with these lenses will get you great low light results, and I hope you like what you see. I'll leave all the information on screen about which lens I'm using and when, and what the ISO was also. Just a tip, if you plan on shooting with the Panasonic S5 in low light, 4000 works beautifully. If you have to shoot past about 8 or 12,000, I recommend adding just a little bit of extra noise reduction thanks to pressing the Q menu on the back of the camera. It'll bring up the picture profile, and you can add as much noise reduction as you like. Either way though, the images look beautiful. Another great benefit to these lenses over the kit lens is you get 3 extra stops of light, meaning you don't have to have the ISO all the way up and getting lots of noise. The only time I really found the autofocus struggling was in low light. So if you're going to be doing any type of low light shoots, choose one area mode. And if that doesn't work, then you can go over to manual focus and control it that way. And thanks to the focus peaking, you shouldn't have any issues nailing focus. Let's talk about focus breathing, or the lack thereof. When it comes to the 24 and 35, they're perfect. There's next to no focus breathing and nothing that I noticed in my testing. I did notice a little bit more on the 50 and 85, but compared to other lenses from other brands that I also own, it's nowhere near as extreme. If you don't know what focus breathing is, it's when you get close to the lens like this, you'll see the background kind of zoom in. All of these lenses are very well controlled, and I don't think it'll be a problem. The Panasonic S5 allows us to set the linear focus throw, which means how many degrees we turn the focus ring for it to go between maximum and minimum. The benefit of this is you can set it to either 90 degrees, 360, or you can turn it off, and it will rely mostly on speed. These are a focus by wire lens, but the beauty of it is in linear mode, you can get repeatable and reliable focus pulls. These lenses also excel when it comes to getting the Sunstar look. I'm at f16 on the 24mm f1.8, and as you can see by looking at the sun through the trees, beautiful. The build quality on each of these lenses is really solid. While they are a plastic exterior, we get a metal lens mount back here, which is fantastic. We also get an AF/MF switch over here, so you can quickly select between autofocus and manual focus at the click of a button. The new Lumix S series lenses all have a filter thread size of 67mm. In addition, the 20 to 60mm kit lens also has the same thread size. This means you only need to get a single ND or UV filter for the entire range of lenses. If you shoot a lot like I do outdoors, you'll get a kick out of the fact these are dust, splash proof and freeze proof, so they should work great in almost any condition. Let's wrap this video up by talking about my user experience with these lenses. So if you're a gimbal operator and you're going to be switching out lenses, this makes a whole lot of sense. They balance perfectly. You don't have to do anything additional to just changing the lens. When it comes to gimbal work, the colors and contrast all match beautifully. I didn't have to do any post-production to get one lens to match the other one in terms of colors or contrasts. So that's fantastic. The only time the autofocus did struggle a little bit was in the low light situation on the pier. And that was it. It worked beautifully every other time. I've actually been using one area mode a lot in continuous autofocus on my guitar channel, just so I can showcase products. I find that far more reliable than some of my other camera systems. So you're getting it right. If you're not going to be doing anything too dramatic in the shot, the autofocus should be enough to get you by. One of the things that impressed me the most were how the lights looked in the background on the pier. The bokeh looks absolutely beautiful, and it's really easily achievable with the 35, the 50, and the 85. The overall look and feel of these lenses is what people want when it comes to full frame. Great subject separation and getting that really professional look, and these deliver in spades. So a massive thank you again to Panasonic for sending these out for the review. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any comments or questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. My name's Shane. I'll catch you soon. See ya.